a minute, Brock. Real quick question. I'll just start, Brock. Wait, what was the response you made on the third off?
I said, get better at reading. The Carter evidence is specific to how racialization is a fluid process determined by cultural and political favors over time, but it's a reason to reject you. Assigning black scholarship to radically particular as always pessimism is performative anti-blackness that reifies white scholarship and can't think of black scholarship as a general way of theorizing violence.
Okay, did you read the perm? No?
I didn't read the perm. No.
Okay, what were the responses to the critique?
I said that there's a symmetry to set. It's not radical to copy the cops. Using the form of the system against itself results in like making fun of police officers, which would get activist kills. And it's extremely insensitive right now in the time of like all the protests around the US. Independently that, copying can only re-territorialize the system. Power and governance has diffused through the code to guide how we live our lives. That internalization is what the code wants, to get more and more access instead of you just prefer care for each other. And that's the party evidence.
Okay, cool. It's going to be, let's see, I'll start with the AC, then it's going to be K, third off. No independent reason to reject the team on framework, right? Okay. Good. Hey Daniel, you good?
Yeah, I said yeah. I'm sorry. I just nodded. I thought you, yeah, you probably nodded.
Oh, perfect. Good. Don't vote on this independent voter on presumption of the ACD. The independent voter is not framed correctly. Don't give them a new 2AR framing. At the end of the day, this independent voter should just be dropping the argument, as any other argument would be in this, as any defensive argument would be in this debate. So don't vote the independent voter. Critique. They mishandle this critique. They read a long overview that doesn't make any sense, but the link we're going for is the co-option link. That's the James 15 evidence, which tells you that which tells you that movements get co-opted. Look at the co-option of the Black Lives Matter movement through random through the random Instagram chain, which is like tag 10 people and pass it on. It's literally a commodification of the movement, trying to create like capital, trying to create capitalist movements from a movement that is morally good. This is problematic for a couple of reasons. The first is that it gets the movement nowhere. Co-option means that the university or the state just co-opts the movement, and co-opts the movement, understands the movement, and then reacts to the movement in a worse way. That means that the affirmative method of care and love is care and love is pretty the affirmative method of care and love is lost in the fact that it gets co-opted by the state and turns into something that the state can now combat. Which means that at the end of the day, you don't see the harms of the affirmative get solved because they're getting constantly co-opted by the state. The second reason why the co-option link turns the affirmative is because it basically causes a, okay. So the affirmative also links into the co-option side because they try to create an aura of care and love, which is actively doing something, which means any active doing of something contributes to the capitalist market, and insofar as the capitalist market is what controls the world, through things like co-option, through methods like co-option, they turn their own method into the state. They specifically tell you that the state is, they specifically tell you in 1AC cross-examination that the state is bad, which means that the co-option of their method into the state would lead to the harms that we talk about in the critique. The harms that they misunderstand the alternative, which is why they read the symmetry test. The symmetry test doesn't respond to the alternative altogether. Our alternative is not to semiotically rupture. They are trying to respond to Baudrillard. Our alternative is simply that we want to reject the affirmatives project of trying the affirmatives feel good project try to reject academia along with it. We are rejecting the university's claim to the affirmative. We are rejecting the affirmative claim because if it gets co-opted by the state, then the state can fight against it. If we don't affirm the affirmative, then we don't allow the affirmative project to get co-opted, and we don't allow the state to be able to fight back. We don't allow the state to be able to fight back. The K is an a priori issue to the critique. The K is an a priori issue to the affirmative because if the affirmative gets co-opted, then there's no benefit to the affirmative. Let's see, that's fine on that. Also, they've considered a role of the ballot argument, which is the BIFO 9 evidence that talks about how our first job is to interrogate systems of semiotics. Insofar as the negative doesn't do that, you extend our role of the ballot across. They haven't extended a counter framing mechanism, which means that their form of interrogating semiotics is bad in comparison to the negative because we're winning the co-option link, which functions as an independent dissat under our framework. The non-black voter. They mishandled this voter. They should have allotted a lot more time to this because we're going for it hard. They try to give you this argument that we should get better at reading evidence because the Carter 19 evidence is something else. No, the Carter 19 evidence ontologizes blackness. It literally says that blackness becomes that this is nothing but an ontologization of blackness, and stating that civil society is condemned against blackness. That's the reason that the affirmative doesn't act within the state is because they claim that the violence is not contingent, as my opponent claims in the 1AR, but is based on structural issues. Just because they didn't say the word ontology doesn't mean that that's not what they mean. They say that black people are condemned to social death within civil society, which is the definition of ontology. That's the Carter 19 evidence that comes back and back again. Even if they claim that this evidence is trying to say something else, I can't look at the evidence and infer what the evidence is trying to say. I'm reading the evidence, and that's exactly what it says, which means that you still link to the entirety of the shell. The shell is very, very specific. You should not be reading this argument. You should not be reading these arguments for the sake of inclusion. You are actively commodifying black literature and are trying to use it to gain a ballot or trying to advocate for it when you aren't in the positionality to be able to argue for it in the first place, which means that this is an independent voter for the fact of inclusion. Even if procedurals don't matter, this is an ethical responsibility for you to be cautious on what you read. This is not a procedural argument, which means that your procedural bad argument on the framework shell goes moot. On the framework shell, a quick thing. Your counter-interpretation is a performative contradiction against your own affirmative. You explain that your counter-interpretation is defending a militant reading of the resolution, but a militant reading of the resolution does not promote care and love. It promotes militarism, which is what a part of the Carter evidence, which is what your second piece of evidence in your AC critiques, which means that you are an act of your own problem. Don't defend a militant reading of the resolution. What you want to create is a society of pure and love.
Please starting It's going to be the third off and then the K. Well, actually, no, actually I'll do case first and then T and then the K. Are you good? Okay. Wait, I'm sorry, I cannot send. So that's fine. The only thing they have left is presumption on case, which they just say in the last week that it's not a voter for them. So they have no other offense on case. They didn't extend the in out of the tie, which is not even what the app is. Onto the third off. Structural theories are not the same thing as an ontological claim about the capacities of certain bodies. The evidence is an interview that J.K. Carter gave, which was very specific about blackness and whiteness being something outside of pure identity and tied to structural persistence. Don't claim to be reading the evidence and refuse to actually read the evidence. It says. It says white folk gotta do something, but your homogenization is extremely balanced. This things all black scholars use Wildersonian Afro-pessimism, which is performative anti-blackness since it misinterprets and shifts what black scholarship says to treat it as an object of negation and make arguments to win a debate. And that's only done in rounds, which is an independent reason to reject the team for being found, which was not answered in the 1AR. And additionally, militancy is not equal to violence, but it's about preserving communities. We define it as a process of resistance and survival, which is what love and care do. We talk about being in here and before out there. Only the 1AC theorizes a model of debate that provides resistance strategies in debates over how to endure the violence of maturing, like the Zapatistas versus the VPP. That's Steve's subject position and theorizing, which is a prior question to taking the action that their K endorses. Onto the K proper, they talk about movements getting co-opted, but don't explain how. Just say the state will co-opt your movement for love by reading but they don't articulate this at all. They say that doing actions of. Well, I also extend the out. They say that trying to create love and care gets co-opted by capitalism because it's taking an action. This makes no sense. By that same logic, they are also by cutting cards that creates something for capitalism to take. It's obviously a silly argument. It makes no sense. On the role of the ballot, they didn't answer the symmetry disadvantage. They simply said, oh, they're trying to answer Baudrillard and rejected it. You should, the symmetry disadvantage is still there, which is just going to lead to. Oh, also, the 1AC is not a movement, and it doesn't go anywhere. The 1AC is care and love, which is horizontal organizations that the state doesn't use. Those like Black Queer Ballrooms and Asada's Daughters that care and love for each other, but not placing demands on the government. That looks like people hiding each other's, or covering up each other's faces and not posting pictures of each other as they go to ride, so they don't get arrested or killed. But it's not a specific movement that's not going to get co-opted. If a cop wants to delete someone's face or delete someone's picture so they don't get arrested, I mean, that's fine, but they haven't proven how it gets co-opted. They have no offense to roll the ballot. They didn't answer the disadvantage. Vote out. Good debate.
Good evening.